There's so many theories out there as to why we procrastinate, including perfectionism, poor self-esteem, poor self-worth, fear of disappointing others, fear of failure, blah, blah, blah. Today I want to talk about my take on procrastination using my personal experience, my clinical experience, and on the way, give you 5 ways for you to put a stop to it. You ready to do this? Let's do it. Back when I was in graduate school, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was terrible about procrastination, but miraculously I graduated and became an intern around 1993. Damn, I'm old. And as I started my internships, I started to hate doing progress notes. A progress note is essentially a documentation of a client contact, like a session. I would dread the whole notion of these notes. I'd be thinking and saying to myself, I didn't go to graduate school to write in people's charts. I went to help people. I was trying to feel noble and act noble, but it wasn't flying. So I'd put it off and put it off until finally a clinical supervisor would say, Paul, you got to get it done. And I'd chain myself to my desk, growling, grousing, grumbling, groaning, all the GRs, and made myself do it. So yeah, I struggle with procrastination. I'm not just reading about it from a book. And by the way, I'm never going to do that in this channel. While I was grumbling though, I did notice how much of a negative spin I was putting into doing these notes. It clearly made things worse because I'd remember those negative feelings right around the time that I'd have to do notes again, and surprise, surprise, the dread came back. I struggled with procrastination throughout the first half of my career with letters, progress notes, treatment plans, discharge plans, court reports, you name it. I was becoming my own worst enemy. I knew I was a good social worker, therapist, clinical director, case manager, but this issue, it was dogging me. And frankly, it was hindering my ability to promote. And then one day, and I think it was in 2003, I was in clinical supervision with one of my favorite supervisors. And we, once again, were brainstorming on ways to get my notes in on time. And all of a sudden, she straightened up and said, Paul, what if you're looking at doing your notes like you're bowing to the man, like giving into authority? It's like a bomb went off. I was thunderstruck. I just had to sit there quietly and just take it in. She was right. It wasn't about her really. It was about my urge to push back and disobey whenever I felt forced to do things, like these notes. Suddenly it all made sense. The rebel in me got too big, too onerous, too big for his britches, and needed to be tamed. I chose that day to make a 180 and to embrace the suck, as the military folks call it. I chose to reframe my documentation as something worthwhile, needed, necessary for the next guy, a way to make sure the agency got paid, information for someone who had to stand in for me. And when the reframe started to sink in, and I actually started to believe in it, the dread literally disappeared. And not surprisingly, my timeliness improved. Some of you in the audience may be asking, well, how does this help me, Paul? And I'm glad you asked. Although I shared my personal experience, I think this phenomenon is more common than you think. And this example, this is going to be one of 5 things that I'm going to suggest you do. So when you find yourself procrastinating, I want you to reframe the tasks that you're avoiding. Look for what is meaningful, what is worthwhile, how it helps yourself, your family, your team, society at large. Find the good. And then say the good thing, even out loud, repeatedly, until you start to believe it. This will grow. Now, some of the reasons I named in the very beginning of the video might truly be in play. If you have an urge to procrastinate, get quiet for a second and really think about what's going on. What are you feeling? Are you anxious about the task? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Well, I have a theory about this. Sometimes when we think of a job, a task, we start to get anxious, we start to feel overwhelmed. It just feels ominous and daunting. And what do? We avoid it. That's why I say procrastination, in a weird way, it makes sense. When you're thinking of a task and you get overwhelmed and then you avoid it and the anxiety goes down, your body, your mind, it remembers. It remembers, hey, every time I think of this task and get overwhelmed, when I avoid it, the bad feelings go away. And of course, your body and your mind, it remembers this pairing. So the next time you think of the task, it'll automatically revert to this coping mechanism. So if procrastination makes sense as a means to avoid anxiety, well, then what do? We review the task in a less threatening, less daunting, less anxiety-provoking way. I had this client who attended online college, and he always waited to the last minute to turn in his assignments. I can't possibly relate. The teacher uploaded the assignment on the weekend and expecting the students to download the lecture and the assignment, work on it, and turn in the assignments by the end of the week. So my client would wait until Wednesday or Thursday to watch the lecture and then wait till Friday or Saturday to start working on the assignment and barely turn the assignments in on time, sometimes at the last minute. This became so draining, he sought my help. So we brainstormed. We decided every week how much time would it take to download the lecture, watch it, take notes, download the assignment, complete the assignment, proof the assignment, and then upload it back to the professor. We figured that on any week of class, the total amount of classwork, homework would be about 10 hours a week. So we divided it up by 5 days. It was really 6, but that extra day was a grace period, and arrived at him needing 2 hours a day to do his work. And then to make it easier, I said, how about we earmark 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon to do your work. And then I said, once you're done with that hour's work, I want you to stop and go do something fun. And to be honest, I was kind of tricking him, because as you know, when you have a finite time to get something done, you run to the end of it. Sometimes you're on a roll, and so you just keep going. I hope that would happen for my client, and it actually did a couple of times. I also told him if he ever worked over 2 hours a day, that he was to definitely reward himself with something like video games. Sorry, I had to move inside. My neighbor started their weed whacker, so it'd be pretty distracting. So anyway, where was I? So we tried this for several weeks, and although it took some practice, my client, after he stopped looking at assignments as daunting and anxiety-provoking, and once he found a system that worked, he started doing better. So the goal of these concepts is to identify if you view assignments with anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, that's your cue to break those assignments down into manageable bites. What's that dad joke? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Corny, but you know what I mean. So far we've talked about 1, reframing the task as positive, 2, checking in to see if the task is associated with anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, and 3 is breaking down the task into manageable bites. And I hinted at rewarding yourself incrementally when you've exceeded the minimum allotted time for that task that day. So the 4th concept is similar. It's rewarding yourself in general. After you complete that task, project, that seemingly insurmountable assignment, I want you to find a way to reward yourself. Give yourself that good job, attaboy. Reward yourself for a job well done. For example, for that student, when he started to turn in better quality work with time to spare, he rewarded himself with playing video games or getting a Starbucks after he uploaded that week's work. This may seem corny to you, but when you reward yourself for completing a challenging task, your body, your mind, instead of remembering how avoidance reduced anxiety and feeling overwhelmed, your body and your mind remembers how good it felt when you pushed yourself and you got the job done. Try it. The 5th and last concept, well, it might be a little harder, and it comes after you've had some success with the first 4. I ask that you compare and contrast your old you and your new you. Compare and contrast the old you that allowed anxiety to lead you to procrastinate, that pushed you to create a substandard work product, all the while berating yourself in the process. Compare that to the new you that has become more disciplined, more deliberate. One who completes good work in a timely fashion and feels great about it, even proud of yourself. And with this comparison, ask yourself, what could be the end result of this transformation? Could it be a long overdue improvement in your GPA? Could it be recognition from the boss and a possible promotion in your future? Is this new you now considering challenges that you never would have considered before? Is this new you up for trying new challenges, new opportunities, new hobbies, new relationships? You see, when we think we are capable, there's really nothing stopping us from being all that we can be. I hope these 5 ideas to combat procrastination were helpful to you. Try them out and let me know in the comments how it went. The topic of procrastination came up at a lunch with a colleague last week, and it prompted me to do this video. If you like this kind of content, please give the channel some love. My name is Paul, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.